All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Breakfast with Ben. My name is Ben Barber. I am the host of the show. As you probably know, I'm the executive producer here at 321 Westerly, one of the owners of 321 Media. And today I am super excited to be talking with Ryan and Beth from Service Master by Mason. Ryan, how are you? Introduce yourself. Let people know who you are, what you do.
Hey Ben, thanks for having us. This is a great opportunity for us. But again, Ryan Mason, Service Master by Mason. My dad and I have been partners in the Service Master and Service Master franchise system for 23 plus years. He's been 33 years plus total. Born and bred here in Westerly, so Westerly boy through and through, and love our community and love taking care of our customers.
Awesome. And Beth,
Good morning, Ben. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm excellent, thank you. So I'm the marketing director for Service Master by Mason. I've been in the industry now for over 13 years and with Service Master by Mason for 9 years.
Wow. What do you do as marketing director?
Oh, a little bit of everything. Wear a lot of hats. So we teach continuing education classes. We offer those for free for insurance and real estate professionals here in Rhode Island and also Connecticut. We also do all of our social media, all of our digital media. We are everywhere, at trade shows, expos. We're always out in the community.
Awesome. Ryan, tell me a little bit about Service Master by Mason and how you guys got started.
Yeah. So Service Master by Mason, we perform disaster restoration recovery for clients that have been through fires, mold issues, water damage, catastrophe losses, trauma projects, hoarding, general commercial carpet and floor care services. Gosh, I mean, we've been up and down the East Coast, helping clients from Texas to Maine after hurricane losses, after tornadoes. Worked at the Pentagon after 9/11. I always say that's one of the hardest and most patriotic thing I've been able to do in this line of work.
It was a terrible privilege to be able to be a part of the cleanup there.
Right.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And our goal is to help our clients, if a fire or water damage happens to their house, this is kind of the hardest thing besides losing somebody in their lives. Their the space where they live, where they raise their kids, where their safe zone is damaged. We want to come in and help restore those spaces back to pre-loss condition. And that's our ultimate goal: take care of our customers and take care of our crews as well.
Wow. Um, what would you say? This question is for both of you,
Mm-hmm.
separately and individually. By the way, I can tell which one's the. First of all, I just got to say, we had a little bit of a mic issue recently in the studio with when we were doing Doug's open mic. The power supply in the studio is messing with the mixer and creating a buzz, and you can hear it like at the slightest bit of it right now with this. And so this morning I was like, oh no, we have two guests on, and so I went into my storage unit to grab some wireless mics for you so that I could use one channel instead of for that, and sort of patch my way through it. But the you can tell which one of you is the marketing director,
Most definitely.
and which one of you, because the mic etiquette on Beth is just
Is
fantastic,
spot on.
and you are a man that works with his hands.
That's exactly right. I'm
Yeah.
behind the scenes. I like being taking care of the clients that Beth brings to our table and fulfilling my responsibility on that end of things. She does great at what she's doing. This is special for me.
Beth, how did you get started
In the restoration industry?
in general?
In general, so I
Tell us your
started
story.
I started in media when I was only 15. I started as an on-air DJ at two radio stations in Berkshires and Western Mass, and also at the Berkshire Eagle newspaper. And the Eagle owned several properties also in Connecticut and other states as well. And after college, I went to work with them in one of the other states, and still stuck with radio for a little bit because I just loved it, didn't want to give it up. And moved to Connecticut and started in sales and marketing. So I was in newspaper for 13 years. and then left the industry, went to be a marketing director for a large home improvement company, which led to a nonprofit, a credit union in Connecticut, and then Service Master found me. So and started in the restoration industry now for 13 years.
I love it.
So every day is unique. Every day is rewarding. As Ryan said, it's wonderful when you're dealing with someone and it's just their darkest day, and you're able to kind of walk them through that, and help them come out the other side and be in a much better place with less stress, and also just see their home, their business, their loved ones, their valuables put whole again.
Yeah. Absolutely. There's and I have to be careful here because um I own a marketing company, so I could just end up talking marketing the whole time.
Sure.
And that's not why we're here. We're here
That's
to
a whole
talk.
nother podcast
It's a
for us,
whole nother
Ben.
thing. That's a whole nother thing, which yeah, please come back. Um yes, absolutely. You could be on the 321 Media podcast, Marketing Made Simple. Would love to have you on there. Actually, that's a fantastic idea.
I
Please
would
come
love
back
to
for
be on
that.
that. Thank you.
So
I don't get invited for that.
you don't get
No.
invited. No.
Okay, no, that's fine. Fair
No.
enough.
What's your do you have a social strategy, Ryan?
Social strategy.
Do
I
you have a
don't.
social media
I
strategy?
just I try to be a good person.
What are your
That's
thoughts
my,
on
that's,
CR what are your thoughts on CRM management?
It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, I'll be on that one.
Okay. Thank you.
I have my priorities.
Yeah.
There you go. And honestly, listen,
I can't be a jack of all trades.
one of
I gotta
us
do something really well.
one of us helped with the cleanup of the Pentagon, and the
That was
other
me.
and the one of us helped up with the cleanup of the Pentagon after 9/11, and one of us and and one of us is really good at TikTok
That's
strategy.
perfect.
So
Yep. Fair enough.
so
Everybody has their strengths.
yeah,
We'll
Yeah.
we're
take it.
basically on the same level, buddy.
Yeah.
Um,
That's great.
what is your favorite part of your job, Ryan?
I enjoy putting the puzzle pieces together. Really, a customer will call and say, "How do I fix this? How do we work through this?" Each client that we deal with has different personalities, in different ways that we have to manage the household for them. If it's a single individual, multifamily, commercial, industrial building, you kind of got to know where those people are in the situation, and then how do we keep a business operating while still, restoring their property? How do we keep a family in their house if they don't have another place to go? So it's really, the idea of how do we, it's a big puzzle, and I want to make a cohesive picture for the client as we move forward, because this isn't snap your finger and the project's done. There's a process. We work through the initial client. We work with the insurance company, the adjuster. There could be a third party adjuster. And then we got to get all our ducks in a row to make sure it's not a financial burden on top of already a stressful situation for the client. So we work through that whole process and ultimately, hand off a finished product to a happy client.
And he is brilliant at strategizing. Both him and his dad are brilliant at strategizing to find solutions. He's being modest here. So he recently, and Ryan is an absolute expert in all things mold and is also certified to do air quality testing. So he's always providing services with that. But even recently, there was a family with a young boy who was ill, and there were health effects in the home because of the mold. And Ryan, through a lot of problem solving, was able to figure out what was going on in the home. And now this boy, it is night and day for his health and how the turnaround has for this young man. And it's here in town.
Yeah. 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 And really it's understanding the health effects of when we talk about mold.
Yeah.
It can run the gamut. Everybody has individual effects when it comes to what type of species, what volumes in the air. And we really need to, it's a fluid situation, and how do we fix it? How do we get the person healthy, or how do we get that individual back to a normal, living experience? That's the goal.
So I my family home as a child for sure had mold that I did not know about. And I actually didn't know about it until after we sold the house, and I sold the house and I reconnected with the new person that bought the house, right? But the realtor that didn't By the way, I sold the house in probate to a realtor who then sold the house to somebody. So like it's a third party thing,
Understood.
not like I screwed this person over. Just want to be clear. But they're like, hey, did you know about the mold? And I'm like, no, but that makes sense. That makes sense because I was sick for my entire life. Um, I not that I don't have a nasally voice anyway, listeners.
Hmm.
But I was always so when I moved to New York for college, and other than moving to New York for college, I did not have a stuffy nose, postnasal drip
Sure.
situation, and I have a little bit of a nasal thing anyway from when I was a baby. But uh, I did not have like a clear nasal passage the entire time that I lived at my parents' house, until I was in my mid 20s and moved out in 20, almost 10 years ago. Um, and then like when I moved out of my parents' house and moved to Westerly, like that, like my voice changed, and I
Hmm.
didn't have that same nasal drip anymore. I didn't have that. I wasn't getting constantly sick. Um, like mold can do a number on you.
It's no joke. Legitimately, your story is exactly what a lot of people are dealing with. They can't figure it out. They go to the doctor. I work with a lot of ear, nose, and throat doctors because they can't determine exactly what's going on. So they recommend having air quality tests or sampling done to determine whether this is a situation that's the mold's affecting them or not. We want to either eliminate it as a concern or you know remediate it and protect the house. So that you're spot on with those effects. It drains your body. Mucous membranes aren't working well. You're constantly draining, and it's a carcinogen too. So you're always nervous about the elderly, the newborns, where their body is still developing. Anybody with immune that's has immune compromised issues post surgery. All those kind of things play a role. Your body's, if you're sick, we're working on something, and then mold gets introduced. Your body's trying to hold level, and then all of a sudden it drops off the edge, and people are trying to figure out and again put that puzzle piece together. Why is it happening? How do we correct it? And that's where I come into
So
help.
how do you test for mold? Like how do you what and how expensive of a situation is that? Like
Sure.
if you have somebody, if you're like everybody in my house is constantly sick and doesn't feel good and
Yeah.
such and such, like how what's the next step? What's the next step with that?
Yeah, so we'll get calls. Usually I'll come in and do a visual inspection, doesn't cost the customer anything. Then we'll talk through the process of how everybody's feeling in the house. I don't get into, I'm not a doctor, but it's working through the symptoms that I've seen in the past and how people have, you know, addressed those problems. Um, then we'll decide whether we need to do sampling. There are 4 different types of sampling. There's bulk sampling, so I come out and take a piece of the building material that's potentially affected. We can do a surface sample with a tape. Go back to your 8th grade earth science. Those little discs that you look under the microscope, very similar to those. Then we can do swab samples. So if we have to get in the small tight areas, we can do swab sampling. And then the most common type we're doing is air sampling. So we'll take a diskette, put it over a bio pump, and then we're collecting the particulate that flows over that diskette, send it out to our lab. They analyze it and tell us here's our species and here's our total count, and then we can kind of go back and look for water damage issues, moisture problems. Is the relative humidity in the house too high that's allowing mold to take off and start its germination process? And it's not really the spores that we're worried about, it's the mycotoxins. And the mycotoxins are the off gassing as mold grows, kind of gives you that fight or flight scenario where you smell something funky. You're like, what the heck's going on? I don't have an answer for it. And a lot of times we'll have the answer and help with the correction from there.
And there's a lot of misconceptions about the air quality testing and even the inspections that we do. We have infrared cameras, we have scope cameras. So we're actually able to peek behind walls, floors, ceilings to see what's going on. Because a lot of times when you see mold on the front of the wall, it's actually already eaten its way from behind. So it's spreading further and further in your home and your business than you actually think by just seeing some on the front of your walls. So
Yay.
I know that's always the challenge. People say, "Oh, I just see a little bit of mold on the front of my wall. It's not that much of a problem." Well, it's not what you see; it's what you can't see. So that's what we're always there to try to find. Exactly how far has it gone? Where has it gone? So we know exactly what we need to deal with and doing the proper cleanup. There's a lot of misconceptions about the air quality testing too, because one of the samples that we have to do is outside. And people are always saying, well, the mold is inside my house. Why do I need to have a sample done outside? And it's simply because as you're naturally opening your windows and doors, mold spores are coming in your house all the time. And that's natural. So we need to see what's actually going on outside your home to what naturally is coming inside your home. And when they match, it's okay. When they don't match, there's another problem going on inside and you need, again, professional help to try to find it.
She wrapped it up. That was good.
Uh, wow. You know what? We're gonna take a quick break. So that well, actually, we're not going to a sponsor ad right now. We're going to tell you about the 321 Radio app. So if you are enjoying this show right now, you could be listening to it on the 321 Radio app. You can download it right now in the App Store. And it has all of our live shows and then 24/7 music when we are not live, curated by Westerly's own Dave DeAngelis. And then in addition to that, we have all of the Westerly High School sports games on there, obviously. That's what we do here at 321 Westerly. And you can also read all of the articles directly in the app. So there's a feed up there. And then if you missed a show, don't worry, because a talk show like this, not the music, then the podcast link is directly on there as well. So it's everything 321 Westerly all in one place, the 321 Radio app. Check it out in the App Store right now. Here's a quick ad and we'll be right back. All right. So check out the 321 Radio app. And if you are a small business or organization in the area and you're interested in becoming an advertiser on 321 Westerly, like we said, we had over 10,000 people now that watched the Thanksgiving Day game, 75,000 views for fall sports in general before that. So now we're well over 85,000, well over 85,000 for the fall sports. And yeah, that advertising goes on articles, the website, Facebook, Instagram. Over 8,000 people that follow on there, and we reach over 50,000 people per month total on social media. So if you want to check out that stuff. But if you're looking to advertise your business, send us an email to team@321westerly.com. And we have advertising rates right now on a discount for winter and spring seasons. So December 1st through June, it'll get you all of boys basketball, girls basketball, wrestling. We're working on it.
Wrestling.
Baseball, softball, lacrosse, everything. So check that out. And if you're interested in spreading the news about your business, we would love to help. So speaking about storytelling, you have some wonderful stories to share about different aspects of the biz and projects that have happened. So I would love to hear some. Tell me some stories.
I love the story about the school that we did up in Vermont. So they had unfortunately a huge pipe burst, and it was a brand new gymnasium floor that had been put in. So the school had invested hundreds of thousands of dollars on
And
this.
now it's a pool.
And now it's a pool with lots of water, and the water has nowhere to go because there's a concrete floor right underneath that. And Ryan and his dad, really said, okay, we need to not only clean up all the water, but there's water that's gone all through this floor and into the concrete. And concrete acts like a sponge. It's very porous, and the water sits there as well. And we had to find kind of an ingenious way to get the water out. And Ryan, I'll let you dive in because you guys came up with just an incredible idea.
So with a gym floor, the way they're built, they're pressure plates around the surround of the room. What happened is the wood absorbed the moisture, the wood starts buckling, so you have this 3.5 foot hump in the middle of the hardwood floor, the gymnasium. Everybody thinks it's ruined. Well, let's sit back. Instead of spending 250 grand, missing out on a whole season of basketball, wrestling, all that kind of stuff, let's try to work this through. What we ended up realizing was the locker room, the men's locker room, was directly below the gymnasium floor. So we came in with concrete drills, drilled the concrete floor up, and alleviated 80% of the water. It was just streaming down. So we again, putting the puzzle pieces together, we ended up draining the system, and then they were talking about having a dance party at the school that weekend, and we were trying to figure out what we could do to cause more pressure on that floor to alleviate more water.
And initially they were going to cancel the party, and Phil and Ryan said, no, we want all that weight in the room to help push the water down even further.
So with everybody dancing and doing their thing, they squeegeed out a majority of the water, and then the following day we came in, set up our desk and drying equipment, and restored that floor back to
normal,
basically brand new.
Yeah.
So we saved them, probably cost 10% of what a new floor would have cost. So huge savings to the prep school, and saved all their sporting events for that season.
And more importantly, the dance got to go on.
Right.
So
always got to dance.
Yeah,
you do have to dance.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean that's the most important thing. Let's talk about hoarding a little bit.
Absolutely.
I know that's a sensitive subject.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean it's something that you guys deal with. So
it is.
Let's talk about it.
And we've gone through extensive training to be able to work with our hoarding clients. It is a mental disorder. It has to be treated that way. And it's affecting 1 in 10, here in New England, and tens of millions of Americans. And unfortunately, coming out post-COVID, we're only seeing more and more. And the states are struggling. Many of the towns are struggling, and they're gearing up. Yesterday, we were participating at the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities that was held at Mohegan Sun, and it was a huge pain point for many of the towns, and especially the first responders that were coming to talk to us. One of the biggest challenge is there's levels of hoarding. They could be a low grade hoarder, they could be a high grade hoarder. Everyone has seen the TV show Hoarders, where everything is stacked from floor to ceiling, and everyone assumes that that's every single hoarding house, and unfortunately, it's not. And again, there's a lot of mental concerns. Usually, their trigger is a trauma that they experienced in their life. So unfortunately, they're just cocooning themselves with all of this stuff. And they say, if I have all this stuff around me, nothing will hurt me again. They've never dealt with the 5 stages of grief. They've never gotten past that trauma and that loss. They're living every day in that pain and that agony as though it's the very first day of hearing the loss, the news of the loss of their loved one. So the moment you start taking away the stuff, out comes this grief. So you really have to be very careful in the cleanup process. We connect our clients to where they can get therapy, professional organizers, a lot of services, the list goes on. And we work with many hoarding clients here in Rhode Island and also Connecticut.
Yeah, the therapy is very important because we can deal with the physical very easily and thoroughly, but we could be revisiting 6-8 months down the road if they don't get that therapy. So it's hand in hand with us helping the client with the physical issue in the property, and then also the mental, the heartache part of it. where the therapy really helps.
And we've seen it all. Unfortunately, we've worked with animal hoarders. Animal hoarders tend to hoard cats. Their second choice are rats. Not rats they found
I'm sorry.
outside.
I'm sorry. What?
Oh,
The second?
rats.
How is the second choice rats?
Rats.
Because you can get one at Petco or a pet store, and they're very intelligent, and they'll come and sit on your shoulder, and they'll eat out of your hand, and they'll nuzzle you, and then they'll go away, and then they'll come back and they'll go away. I know it sounds horrible, but cats and rats are
No
the
judgment.
animals
No
of choice.
No
That's
judgment.
right.
Yep.
Compassion always, no judgment. That's the rule with our hoarding clients. And unfortunately, we've had to work with our Rhode Island RSPCA and other animal groups to be able to capture many of the animals that are in these homes. And unfortunately, at that point, you find a lot that are deceased as well. So we really have seen it all. Everyone assumes, again, when you see the TV show that, oh, it's horrible. But again, you're not getting a sense of what they're really going through in that house. And it's not what you can see in the pile. It's a danger and it's a safety and a health hazard. It's what you can't see. Many of these homes, everything is precariously placed. And if you make one wrong move and you go around a corner and your elbow hits it, you literally have 10,000 pounds of items falling down on top of you. And there's a lot of safety concerns for our first responders when they go into these homes. They really struggle in responding to these homes and keeping themselves safe throughout the process. The homeowners are always a lot of challenges to health and safety, trips and falls, being able to access stairs, have a working bathroom, working kitchen, working bedroom. Usually they're sleeping in just one small little area of their house, and that's where they do everything. So we do it in multiple rooms throughout the day. So there's a lot of challenges in these homes and working with these clients, and we've been doing it now for 33 years.
Wow.
We've had a lot of success stories.
Success,
as
absolutely.
well. So that's what keeps me going with this, is helping that person through that process, working through their grief, and then becoming a better person on the backside of dealing with all that.
And again, the biggest thing is we have a lot of resources we can connect them and their family to, because we know that they're struggling. If we just go in and clean, we're part of the problem and not the solution. We really have to connect them to therapy. We have to connect them to social services. It's an early symptom of dementia. It's a symptom of PTSD. So we work with the VA. We work with a lot of home health aid agencies. The list goes on and on.
So, that being said, my question is, how can people get help with hoarding? Like, for obviously your services cost money, and everybody's circumstances are different when it comes to hoarding, but like and you can have wealthy people who are hoarders
Absolutely.
and poor people who are hoarders and anything in between. But like, is there, because it's a mental health issue like you said, and a mental health disorder and stuff, are there any things like insurance or stuff that can help a family pay for that if that's something that they're interested in? Or
So there are some programs that are out there now. So the VA does have some programs. Some of the towns will have some programs to be able to help. Some of the towns, if it's a blight concern, or maybe there's a little pushback from the town, with the homeowner, they're willing to dive in and provide some assistance as well. We've also seen many of our hoarding clients that have come through actually insurance claims, where we've been called out by an insurance carrier or a local company because their client had a water loss in the house, or a sewer backup, or a mold concern, or a fire or smoke issue. And we were called in because of that. And then lo and behold, we walk in the door and we discover that there's a massive hoarding situation going on as well, which obviously is going to complicate the loss process. But now it's actually part of an insurance claim, and that does help with some of the cleanup costs too.
And Ben, those are the most difficult ones to deal with,
Yeah.
because they're not ready. The client is not ready to deal with that. We get calls where clients are at the point of they need the help and are looking for our services. When they get forced into something, it's very difficult to work through that process extremely fast, as the insurance carrier wants us to, but also dealing with the safety for our team, for the client, anybody else rolling through. So that those are tough when they're forced, dealing with the hoarding situation. Those are the tough ones to process.
Ultimatums don't work with hoarders,
No,
and you
they
can't
don't.
give them a deadline. They'll have every excuse to go past it. There really is things to say and not say, and we know what those things are. But unfortunately, again, as we're dealing with an insurance carrier that wants a situation cleaned up right away, it's tough to try to explain that and be their advocate when we're getting that type of pushback. And one of the things that's very important when you are doing a hoarding cleanup is that whatever the room represents their trigger. If the trigger was a loss of their mom and their mom's bedroom is upstairs, that's the last room that we want to get to, throughout the cleanup process, to keep the stress level low and keep the process moving and moving more fluidly. And that could have been the room where the fire started or the water loss started. And that's where we have to start. So now we're immediately putting just more stress on them than they need. So there's a process to working with hoarding clients, and we try to make it as smooth as possible. But we could tell you stories all day long. We have seen everything. We've seen the whole circle of life, where they had some animals and, hey, that's a food source. So other animals from outside are going to come in, and you walk in and there's snakes and all kinds of bugs and everything else in the pile. We have seen it all.
I'm starting to realize that my parents' house growing up wasn't as bad as I thought that it was.
Just a little messy.
It was no. It was, I mean, because I used the word hoarder a lot, and as I grew up and realized what it actually was, I realized that my mom wasn't a hoarder. She was going through grief. My sister died in 1997 when I was 9 years
so
old.
Sorry.
That's okay. Thank you. It was a long time ago, but
and that was her trigger.
Yeah, that was definitely, it was, the house was lived in before that.
Absolutely.
But not terror. And then, it became harder and harder and harder to do stuff for her and my dad and all of that stuff. But it never got to the what you see on TV or what you guys have experienced. It never got to anything like that. So I'm very grateful for that. But it can happen to anybody.
Absolutely. It tends to be more women than men. It's college educated. It's 4-year degree plus. It's lawyers. It's doctors. It's high level executives at pharmaceutical companies have been our clients. It's nurses. It's healthcare professionals. It's people who are mental health experts. It's teachers. It's accountants. It's not who you think. It's people that have some disposable income to keep feeding this disorder. And everyone just assumes it's a crazy cat lady that lives in a trailer with 100 cats. And could that be a hoarder? Sure. But that is not the norm. And it's usually someone that's going through life as normal as can be, and then bam, here comes their trigger. And unfortunately, they just want to have more and more things around them to just give them some self-worth and happiness.
Yeah, and the COVID season really escalated the ability to have everything directly come to them, come to us, which then escalated their collection and the hoarding issue.
And that's why the towns are gearing up right now, because post COVID, people were actually able to get out and get mental health and deal with social service agencies and have friends and family over. And then for 2 years, someone who was maybe even just a low grade hoarder did nothing but order online, as did we all. They weren't getting mental health. Social services couldn't come to their door. Family and friends couldn't come over to kind of keep that checks and balances. So someone that was a low grade hoarder before COVID is now a level 4 or 5, as bad as it gets. And again, the states know it and they're gearing up. And unfortunately, there's just not enough resources out there.
I mean, listen, we are not. So my house now that I live with my with my friends, we are not hoarders, right? Like
Do we need to take a look at that?
No,
for you, Ben?
no, I can. We are not hoarders at all. But we've had to get 2 dumpsters since COVID because the amount of stuff that you order online,
right?
And the amount of boxes, and you have more boxes than the trash removal can take,
right?
And you have stuff that you bought and then you don't need, and then you stick it in the garage, and then after a year, you look in your garage and you're like, what is this stuff?
Right?
What did I when was I gonna get 2 boxing bags? Like, what am I? I'm not a boxer. Like, what did I like? Yeah, cool. That was a nice thing. Or people give you stuff on top of that, and then so I think we all have this stuff, and that is from 3 people that are not hoarders, that are comfortable in the amount of stuff that they have, etc. No, we still had a ton of extra stuff that we needed to get rid of, and we needed to, clean up on our own and stuff. And if one of us had a propensity for hoarding, you can just see
everything,
how quick that
absolutely
it's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
And it's but that's the difference, right? And that's why it's a mental illness, because it's it's the same thing as sort of being an alcoholic, right? Like so many people, the majority of the world can have a couple drinks, but then that 10%, you have one drink and it turns into
20,
so
right?
it turns into 20. And like that's the thing with hoarding, right? Like we all get, especially with something like COVID, we all are ordering on Amazon, we're all doing this stuff, but then it's one box becomes 500 boxes. And especially like I didn't even think about like the higher income you have, the more income you have to feed this beast.
Right.
And wow.
And it's just tragic how it takes over your life. I was up in New Hampshire many years ago, and there was a hoarding situation there, and I was there, and there was a husband and wife, and the husband was the hoarder. The wife enabled it. They had two young children. The children were going to school, and they were very disheveled. And the school had to report it because they were starting to get very concerned for the welfare of the children. And now the town was involved. DCF was involved, and they had put some ultimatums in of the house was not a safe space for the children, and it needed to be cleaned up and cleaned up by X date, or DCF was going to come in and take the children. Because again, they were very concerned with their welfare. And the wife said, look, I am not going to lose my children. You were going to clean up this space. And it was heartbreaking for me that day. It was probably the worst one I've ever seen. And this is going back about 11 years now, because the husband and wife were in the driveway and arguing about it, because he had hit a wall and he had stopped the process and he was not willing to let it continue. And DCF was literally sitting in the driveway and they were past their deadline. And DCF said, look, we'll give you until 3 o'clock and that's it. And the wife said, we're not losing the children. We're not losing the children. And the husband looked at her and said, well, I'm sorry that you feel that way. She said, you've got two choices. Let us go back inside and continue, or I'm grabbing the purse, I'm grabbing the kids, and you'll never see us again. And the
Oh
two
my
young
God.
boys were standing right next to me and just tears streaming down their faces. They knew exactly what dad was being asked to choose. And dad, he chose the hoard over his family. He said to them, I'm so sorry you feel that way. It was nice being your dad, and walked back in the home. And the woman, true to word, grabbed keys and the car and left, and never came back. So, that's how powerful, this mental disorder can be. I mean, he chose the hoard over his wife and his children.
Yeah. Um, wow. So the obviously you also, you mentioned a lot of success stories, which is great to hear. And uh my question is, I've heard New Hampshire, I've heard Vermont, obviously I've heard Washington D.C.
Mm.
Um what is your service area? Like where do you guys stop?
So we cover, for our local franchise, we cover half the state of Connecticut and Rhode Island. That's our, we'll call it the meat and potatoes. And then after a catastrophe, hurricane, we'll be asked to service and help other franchises from the Mississippi River east. Usually within a 24-hour to 36-hour drive, we'll go and support the restoration needs of different states, communities, that sort of thing. So have to say,
Where's the furthest you've been?
so Galveston, Texas. My first real big loss was Des Moines, Iowa, when I was young, super young. It was probably more to give my mom relief, get me out of the house. So I went with my dad when the Mississippi flooded, and that was 91.
91.
So Florida to Maine, so the whole eastern seaboard. I probably worked in every state across the board. We did a cool one for in Wheeling, West Virginia, for a casino. They wanted to keep the gaming floor going, so we had to condense all the gaming, all the slot machines and tables, and build a 8-foot structure enclosed, so we could work on the outside of the building and keep gaming happening. So those are those puzzle pieces. So that happened twice. So we knew what to do the second time. Hooked up with a great crew, and kept the business running, and yet was able to produce the project.
The Boston Public Library as
Boston
well.
Public
They had
Library,
a
that was a good one.
massive water main, and all of the historic books that were in the lower level became completely flooded. And one of the things that everyone assumes is, if you're water in a book, it's destroyed. You actually have to freeze it. So we brought in massive trailers, freeze trailers, to freeze all the books and then gradually thaw them so we could save all the books in the library. So that was another, again, you got to put the puzzle pieces together. But Rhode Island's our home. We service Rhode Island cover to cover, including Block Island. Ryan flies out there quite a bit to service our clients on Block Island in the Newport area. And then, as he said, if you split Connecticut in half straight down the middle, we serve the entire eastern half, top to bottom.
Wow. So, how do people contact you? Not that, I mean, unfortunately, there's a never-ending amount of people that have mold issues and loss and insurance claims, water damage. I actually think I'm pretty certain that we had a burst pipe a couple like my parents' house had a burst pipe about 10 years ago, and you guys came out for that in Rhode Island. So, and obviously not that bad of a hoarding situation, or you guys would have had to do something about it. So,
Well, we can help
so
with post construction cleaning, nuisance animal cleanup, your carpet, your floors. The list goes on and on.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, good job, mom and dad. So anyway, how do people get a hold of you? Like, and maybe this is a question for you, Beth, the fabulous marketing director. How do people get a hold of you? What kind of services do you do, etc. And look into that camera right there and let people know.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to. So we make it easy to get a hold of us. We are available 24/7. You can contact us right here in town at 401-322-3030. Again, 401-322-3030, or find us at servicemasterbymason.com. We're also online. You can go to our Facebook page, Service Master by Mason. We're on Twitter at SM Westerly, and you can also find us on LinkedIn, Service Master by Mason, CTRI.
That's why you have her, right?
She's awesome.
Yeah. And again, we do a full range of services. We can help with any type of disaster cleanup, the water, the fire, the smoke, odor, trauma, biohazard concerns, vandalism, graffiti, removal. So unfortunately, there tends to be a little bit more of that around Halloween time with little kids that go crazy on sugar with spray cans. And also during the holiday season as well. But we help with a whole host of specialty cleaning services. As we mentioned, the hoarding cleanup, post-construction, nuisance animal cleanup. Our list goes on and on. We're one of the only restoration companies that will actually rent our equipment. So for those DIYers that do need to do it themselves, we rent our equipment, our professional equipment daily at very competitive rates. So just give us a call for that. And we can help with simple cleaning needs too, as Ryan mentioned, especially the commercial carpet, the floor care needs, but we can help with the air duct cleaning in your home, dryer vent cleaning in your home. So important to get that done right now. We're wearing thicker clothes, creating more lint, creating more backup in our dryer system. And it is a huge fire concern and safety hazard for your home. So if it's been a long time since you've had that cleaned, give us a call.
Well, that's a whole new fear that you just instilled in me.
You need to call us, Ben. I'm sensing
I
something
know.
going on here.
I know. I don't even know why, but hold on. I gotta. There we go. This camera. So something. Speaking of puzzle pieces, right? You were talking about all the puzzle pieces that you have to put together. Something happened in this room, and I don't know what it was, but like the audio's not working. The power's been weird. This camera, your camera died in the middle of the show, so I had to turn mine around to
Got
you. And now I'm like, I just had an extreme close up on me when I came back to it. Like, I have no idea what's happening, but I'm glad that Service Master by Mason is here, because they can help me with whatever the mess is.
That's awesome.
So, anything that you guys want to say or talk about before we go?
No, I mean, our business is built on taking care of clients, and that's our goal. So if it's a phone call of a question, call us. It doesn't cost anything to get some answers to questions, and we'll be there to help. We're built on empathy, and we don't ever want to get callous to what people are going through. So we want to make sure we meet people where they are and help them with the needs that they're going through at that point.
And again, if they just need some honest feedback, if they're working with a company, even a competitor, and they just have questions or they feel the process is moving too quickly, they don't understand, they're having some concerns, we kind of consult, and provide that assistance as well. So, we're just always there to just help. We always say, if it's an issue, big or small, you can give us a call. We're just here to help.
I love it.
Great.
And it is 401-322-3030,
3030.
and it's servicemasterbymason.com.
Yes.
Awesome. That stuff is on the screen right there. So give them a call if you need them, or if you know somebody that needs them, or whatever the case may be for all of that. I'm gonna figure out what's happening in this studio while we take a break. And I'm excited. We have a lot of fun stuff coming up for you guys this week. The first episode of Sports Talk with Greg Morano is coming up on Saturday, and we have a tremendous amount of people that want to be on that show for the first episode to talk about Westerly High School sports. Obviously, the big Thanksgiving Day football game win for Westerly. I believe it's 5 in a row now.
Yeah.
5 or 6 in a row, right?
Go
51
Dogs.
51-31, go Dogs. The girls undefeated soccer season,
Amazing.
state champions. Boys soccer made it to the playoffs, made it into the second round of the playoffs. Or I believe the first one was a play-in game. Anyway, that was really dramatic. That was great. We didn't have a camera for that. Our camera operator was sick. So we were calling it on the radio. It went to double overtime shootout.
Wow.
Yep.
It was awesome. And yeah, we're working on some stuff for, by the way, girls volleyball also went deep into the playoffs. So congratulations to all of the teams that we covered and all the teams that we didn't cover. There are just it's really hard to film
Sure.
cross country. I don't know how to do. If
A lot of jogging. A lot of
anybody
jogging.
if anybody knows how to film and live stream cross country, please let me know. Beth.
I did cross country skiing. I can help you there. I can't help you with the running.
I mean, we'll need to get the drones up. But yeah, and we have girls basketball, boys basketball coming up. We're working on wrestling.
Wrestling. Let's get wrestling going.
We're working. Tell me about your affinity before we go. Tell me about wrestling.
He
Tell me
holds a
about
state record.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I started as a freshman. My parents thought I was nuts. What are you doing? Jumping on the team. I didn't win one match my freshman year. Went 500 sophomore, and then didn't lose. Won the state championship my senior year. Got to wrestle in college, and now I'm helping with the youth wrestling program, trying to feed and build this amazing sport back up locally. So super excited about that. My brother Tyler won 2 state championships. My brother Josh won a state championship. And then I can't leave my sister Rachel out. She was an All-American track for Westerly as well, running the 400-meter dash or whatever they call it. But with the wrestling, I love it because it's an individual sport, but you're also part of the team. So whatever you put in as an individual, it's going to show on the mat. The harder you push, the more you can mentally and physically endure a long season, the better your results will be. And then it makes you a great even employee or business owner, because you know what it takes to put the effort in, and the results you put in. The results show for the effort that you put in. So there's no question about that. Love the sport.
And you held a state record. You were inducted in the Westerly
Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame
for wrestling. We won a state championship soccer my senior year as well. So just a lot of good memories from all the sports that Westerly supports. So
awesome.
Love it.
Congratulations on all of that.
Yep.
And congratulations on all of the youth wrestling stuff that's happening. I know that the wrestling team is bigger this year at the high school, in a large part because of your hard work with the youth wrestling and a lot of people's hard work. I know that you're not going to take that compliment. I could see it on your face. But I think it's great, and we're going to do our best to cover some wrestling. I know I've been a big fan of professional wrestling my entire life, but my business partner Patrick, who's the co-owner here at 321 Westerly, is a big proponent of high school wrestling as well and amateur wrestling, and was a wrestled for Cheraho,
Okay.
and I know that we have at least um, one sponsor that came out and was like, "Hey, I'd love to sponsor wrestling. Are you doing wrestling for the?" So we're gonna talk to Jamie about it. It's one of those things where like the big wrestling events have multiple like the tournaments and stuff
Sure.
have multiple mats going on at the same time, so it's hard to film. And then the smaller ones are sort of quick and but we're gonna try to get something done. So I'll call Jamie today and we're gonna try to get something done for you.
Sounds good. If
Right.
you can get into some of the tri meets, that gives you a little more exposure. So you have 3 teams rolling at the same,
Yep.
against each other. So lots of opportunities.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for being here, Ryan and Beth. And I'm gonna let Beth do one more pitch to
You
camera
got it.
for Service Master by Mason.
So again, we're here for all your needs. So if there's a specialty cleaning service, disaster restoration, we're here 24/7, including holidays. Disasters don't stop on holidays, and neither do we. We're always here to help. So just give us a call, 401-322-3030.
Love it. And or servicemasterbymason.com. Ryan Mason, Beth. I'm not even gonna try. Beth, what is your
It's Markowski-Roop. Yeah.
Markowski-Roop?
Yeah.
I was gonna get the Roop. I was gonna get the Roop. But anyway, Beth Markowski-Roop and Ryan Mason, thank you guys so much for being here on this episode of Breakfast with Ben. Download the 321 Radio app. Don't miss an episode. Don't miss a single game of Westerly High School sports. Take us with you in your pocket anywhere you go. Listen live. Stream us anywhere. And never miss an article. Never miss a podcast if you do miss an episode. And of course, you can also listen to some really awesome music 24/7 whenever we're not live with the show, curated by our very own Dave DeAngelis. So thank you guys so much. We'll see you soon. Bye for now.